Yeah, so Solstice looks pretty sweet. The shotgun, I mean, what frame is that? That looks like, I don't know.
It looks like Wishbringer or
It looks like a it looks like
lightweight
a
or rapid fire.
lightweight, or it looks like a rapid fire. Definitely looks
I
like
think it's gonna be
a rapid fire. All right, so first about the Master Vault of Glass. Yeah, because like I said, Fallout was going through it. Let's just dive just a little bit deeper into what, the raid seal and title is going to be active.
Yep.
So time lost weapons, and again, they can be comparable to adept weapons from the Grandmaster Nightfalls or Flawless Trials, but offer an additional perk in columns 3 and 4 for slightly more customization. So is one going to be locked in, kind of like how we have Celerity and, oh, what's the PvE one? Bottomless Grief?
Yeah, I don't know. Like that, I was thinking about that.
Or basically,
this is very ambiguous.
Is it going to be double perks just in general, right? Is it going to be like, okay, left side could be, I'm just going to throw perks out there. Rabbit hit, and let's say the next one is heating up. The right side, Adrenaline Junkie, and let's say Firefly, whatever it is. So are you just going to be able to kind of choose? Is that what they mean?
What I interpret from this is, yeah, I think it's going to be another trait perk. They aren't specific enough about this, which leads me to believe it's just going to be another trait perk, rather than saying, hey, it's going to be rewind rounds, as an example.
Yeah. That's dope. Complete the challenge in the master difficulty, and you're going to be rewarded. Each week we'll have a specific time lost weapon for you to hunt, rotating alongside the available challenge. So once you've earned a time lost weapon, you can also purchase additional rolls from the chest at the end of the raid on master difficulty using Spoils of Conquest. Note that these will be at a higher price than normal versions of the weapons. So you're going to have, let's say, we used it earlier, Templar. You're going to have a Templar challenge. You're going to defeat the Templar. You're going to get a time lost weapon. I would assume on each character, but you can only do them once and you can't keep doing it. But at the end, you can keep using your Spoils of Conquest, and once you start obtaining more, you can turn them in for more time lost weapons. And again, those are going to have double perks. Offer an additional perk in columns 3 and 4. Let's do that for Trials, Bungie. Let's do that for Trials.
Yeah, that would be really great. That'd be really awesome. I think that the optimal route, I guess, for this is going to be unlock your time lost weapon that you want for the week, or go for it if you're interested in the one for the week. For me, I'll be looking out for Praetor's Revenge #1. And then once you unlock it, go to the Templar, farm your 240 spoils, go spend it on a time lost weapon that you unlocked that you're looking to really get the great roll on. Because what this seems like is it's just going to be an excellent way to get a little bit of extra stats on your weapon, get an adept weapon mod on it if you like, and then just the double slot perks if it's, or the double perk slots, if we think like it is like what we said, then it's just going to help you better give you better chances to get your god roll that you're actually looking for, which is pretty interesting.
And there are some vault weapons that do have a PvE and a PvP role. Like, let's say you want Kill Clip and Firefly, right? You can just kind of switch between PvE and PvP. Like, that's ideal to me.
Oh, yeah.
That's ideal to me.
That's actually a really great point. I didn't think of that.
All right, it says, please note, and this is very important, weekly reward lockouts are shared between normal and master difficulties of VOG. So these encounters, challenges, and hidden chests will only award gear the first time you complete them in either activity each week. So they must be completed on master difficulty to earn time lost weapons. So you have to do the master difficulty first before you do anything else.
Oh, and that, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you run through your normal raids, it's gonna lock you out of getting a time lost weapon. That's what I read there. Does that make sense?
I think so. That sounds logical to me.
Lastly, armor from the master difficulty of VOG will focus on specific stats, rotating weekly. If you've been hunting a helmet with a high spike in the intellect stat, master difficulty will give you a greater chance for that distribution. So let's say it could be leg day, and it's going to be for mobility. That might not be your thing, so you don't want to do the challenge. Or you can just keep knocking them out.
I think this is so awesome because what it feels like is they're giving us a lot more agency to actually work towards the things we want for our builds by doing even more difficult content if need be. If that's If it's going to take more time to do this content and more effort, it's fine because we're getting a little bit more reward and focus and agency towards what we're actually looking for, which is great. I just wish the rest of the game had this treatment, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You know, and I'm reading chat here. It's absolutely right. It's helping curb RNG just a little bit, and that's always good.
And
like anytime you can focus down or cut down a chance of complete randomness and get at least you know, some or more. Like if it is going to be complete random, like double perks is fantastic. Like I'm okay with that.
Guardians making their own fate. Oh my god.
Get ready for a fight. Will be a walk in the park if you haven't dipped your toes into Destiny 2 in-game before. The enemies are going to be tougher. There's going to be more champions, more modifiers. So they will, of course, want you to do your milestones for your pinnacles. And also Iron Banner is this week. So let's see here. Mid-season Sandbox update. And
before that, I just want to confirm for the people that do not know this, DMG went in Fallout's chat when we were reading through this and confirmed that Adept mods will work on the time loss weapons. I heard that correctly, right?
Yes.
If you want to confirm that, there we go. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Great.
I love those Adept mods, man.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I had a power outage.
Hey, buddy.
That's lame, bro. Power outage.
Are you streaming?
I was able. I'm done streaming. Yeah, I'm not gonna go back live. I'm gonna work on a YouTube video.
Okay.
We're actually kind of going through. We're just talking about it a little more in depth. If you want to talk with us.
I would love to. Depending on how long you're gonna be live, I'm gonna quickly bang out some content and then I'll come back. I have.
Sure.
I have clarification, by the way, on the terms. What are the terms? Like damage. Like the fall off minimum, fall off maximum. I have I have clarification, and I drew a clutch diagram, which how can I show it to you?
Little Microsoft Paint fallout over here.
A little bit, little MS Paint.
Do you want to send it to the group chat?
The damage fall off minimum. So when you hear the word fall off minimum, I want you to translate that in your head to that's where damage drop off begins. And the damage fall off maximum is where it ends.
Okay.
Meaning like, so the green line is me just, so the green line represents the shotgun damage drop off minimum and maximum as of right now. And the red indicates the minimum and maximum drop off on Tuesday, July 6th.
Yeah, so that's what we thought.
Yeah. Just clarifying for anyone at home watching who maybe didn't know.
Yeah,
like the damage drop off is going to begin 2 meters closer, but the damage, but it's going to last longer because the goal is to have one-shot kills with a shotty happen closer to targets, but the possibility of a deep 2-tap to become more accomplishable at further range. That's why they're increasing the length of when the damage drop off ends.
Yeah, so say right here was 8 meters.
Yeah.
This is 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and say this does 22 per pellet. This, let's say, will go down to 16. Right? So they're just extending that. So that'll be 22 right here. It's 6 meters, so 2 meters less, but it's extending 2 meters further. So the drop off, but the question that I have is of it keeping fall off, because every weapon will keep a fall off until it hits a floor, and then it just does what it does. Like I wonder,
well, with shotguns it goes all the way down to 0.
Like it goes to immune.
Yeah, the damage per pellet on shotgun, there's no floor. Like the floor is nothing.
Yeah, so I wonder if that drop off ends, like if that's going to be the immune point.
It'll probably be the immune point. Yeah, I would imagine that 100%. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go do YouTube stuff now. If y'all are still around by the time I get back, I'd be happy to play more and discuss more.
Yep.
Later Fallout.
So, all right, getting into the Sandbox stuff. I don't know if you want to. Do you want to read the whole paragraph here, or do you want to just talk about the point?
Just talk about the points. Basically, I mean,
yeah, okay.
It's the pain points of the Crucible. Aggressive hand cannons, DMT. So our good friend Chris Proctor, talking about a huge mid-season update that they had planned for season 15, but decided to push it early. Which, by the way, GG's to Bungie for doing something like that.
Yeah,
that
this is huge.
Yeah, really and they said that. Let me find it. we'll follow this up with a big set of changes in Season 15. Moving these changes up for this season gives us the option for doing more reactive tuning once it's out. So they want this out early. So in case, like, if it's really bad or if it's still too good, they can change it as 15 is dropping.
And they can react to it. Yeah, that's really great. I like that.
And they state a couple times they normally don't do this, but like it's almost out of the kindness of their own hearts. They're like, you know what? We should probably do something about DMTs like right now.
Well, you know, it's really great. I have to say, I know like it's so simplest for us to say like, you know, we'll just fix it or whatever, but it's I know this takes a lot of work. I know that like this takes extra time and it takes a lot for things like this to be pushed forward, I believe. So I'm really happy that they recognize that, hey, state of the game right now is there's a lot of pain points and they're at least trying to address them in the ways that are somewhat manageable. But anyways, let's talk about the shotgun changes. I'll read the point form.
Is it okay because it's very important to me. Like I want to read the rules one more time.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I didn't know if you cared about that. Yeah,
I do. So sniper rifles engaging at long range with aiming skill when not already under fire. And Chris said that he absolutely nuked them, which he did as far as getting flinched and just overall like cone angle, right? They do feel different. They're still good if you have some good aim.
I agree.
Shotguns engaging at point blank range, using skill at movement or positioning is going to get you close enough to get a 1 or 2 hit elim. And they talk about it in a second. I want to bring that back up once we get to it. But fusion rifles engaging at mid range, careful positioning, pre-charging for success. Trace rifles strong close to mid, but you're going to be outplayed by skillful primary users because it's kind of a spray weapon. The nade launchers, useful for weakening an opponent, priming them, getting damage around corners with bounces, getting one-hit elims with a direct impact at the cost of projectile travel time. And when you're in a bad place and if you miss, you're kind of out in the open. So
I don't know about you.
Yeah?
I really, really love these definitions of the special weapons. I am like in total alignment. Whether these are actually doing this in like reality right now or not is debatable.
They should be defined. They should be defined and then like focused upon to what they want. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because there was a time that
I like these goals.
I have in that video for Aaron's Hill, dude. I was with Kill Clip. I had 80-meter Aaron's Hill kills. Like that's there's no room in the Crucible for that, dude. There's not. Like I'm sorry. Like I love fusion rifles. I use them a good amount. I use snipers a lot too, and I use them all. But like sometimes they are very out of line, and I think that we're getting ready to talk about these shotguns. They kind of feel the same way. But I do want to bring back what they're saying here to get close enough to get a 1-hit or 2-hit elim. So they talk about the roles. And they say that shotguns are very dominant. You can't really counterplay with primary weapons and close range primaries like SMGs and sidearms. So for them, they increase the aggressive frame shotgun cone angle from 4.0 to 4.25. So they're literally making it bigger for more spread to go within that angle, right?
That's a big change. We've talked about cone angle before. These sound like small numbers, but even like 0.25 is I believe, like a considerable difference. It might sound small, but I think that's a considerable difference. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
So like in everything I've done with testing, and you guys can too at home, like when you go up into a wall, I'm pretty sure it really feels like shotgun pellets come out like kind of like a buzzsaw. Like they go in a circular motion and out, kind of like a twister coming at you. So when that's getting bigger, that's more times for it to miss within that cone. And also like at longer ranges, and they say right here, we went over it with Fallout, and I can bring that back up. Well, it's gone. But reduce shotgun damage fall off minimum by 2 meters and increase the shotgun damage fall off maximum by 2 meters. And again, to kind of explain that, if Fellwinter's hits at 8 meters, does 22 per pellet, it's now going to do that at 6 meters, doing 22 per pellet. Before, it had an 8-meter kill, and let's say it started having fall off at 12 meters, to where after that you start seeing immune, if you guys have tried to land really deep shotgun shots. So they've extended the damage fall off by 2 meters, but I don't know if it's like when I read it again, Drew, I don't know if that's going to be a wash or if they're actually extending it past what it is right now. Because if they go from 8 to 6, say it was 8 and 12, and it might go 6 to 10.
I think it's going to go 6 to 10. I think it's going to go further. And jargon aside, I think what this practically means is one-hit kills are going to be less frequent, especially with aggressives, which are getting their consistency actually hurt. They're going to have less consistency, and as a result, their ease of use is not going to be as good unless you're really in close range. And all shotguns, though, they are going to have less one-hit kills soon, or your one-hit kills are going to have to be sooner and closer up, but they're going to allow you more opportunity to either two-tap with a shotgun. But let's be real, no mid to high skill players looking to two-tap with a shotgun. What this really means is it's going to prioritize you to have to prime your target or clean up your target with primary damage, meaning, you know, prime your target with damage, then go in for a shotgun, and it'll kill deep, maybe even deeper than it currently does because of the damage changes, or you shotgun them, get damage, and then be prepared to swap to your primary to clean them up. That's what that really means, and I love that.
So in going back to that role, engaging at point blank range, so I would assume 6 meters and in, that's going to be more of a guaranteed kill. It should be, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Using skill at movement or position to get close enough to get a 1 or 2 hit elim. I really do think we're going to see top tree arc striders. We're going to see bottom tree strikers with knockout. We're going to see syntheseps. Because, yeah.
That's a great point, man. That's a really good point, because this means that, again, you need something to clean up with now. Whether that is a primary, like I said, sure, you can go for the 2-tap, but that's not the fastest option. The highest skill players and like people looking to be as effective as possible aren't going to go for that 2-tap the majority of the time, I want to say. What they are going to go for is cleanups with primaries, or like you just said, which is really huge, melees. The shoddy melee is going to be...
It's going to be back.
A lot more important.
It's going to be back and big, dude. And honestly, that brings back a lot of exotics that, because Stasis pushed them out, because, Fellwinter's, all the ag frame shotguns pushed them out. Like Celestial Fire's good, but like it brings back Assassin's Cowl, dude, with Top Tree. Getting that lunge, going invis after the kill, like you can actually use that exotic again. Because within that space, dude, 8 or 10 meters and in, really, because, you know, of priming. 10 meters and in is a no-go zone for a lot of stuff in the game right now. And if they're bringing everything in 2 meters, that's huge. Like, that does mean you're going to have, room to use some of these exotics that we haven't used in a long time. And prioritize the shotgun beatdown. So, like, in theory, the Warlocks should be better. Because they do have the extended, a better melee than anything in the game. And you put on Ophidians, it has even more of a melee. You're going to see those... Like, I could see this, like, a lot of Transversive Steps users switch to Ophidians.
Yeah, because they're going to get the draw time, which is most important now. We talked about primary cleanups are going to be bigger, better, and more required than ever. And then the melee range on top of that, they literally help a shotgun in every way.
Yeah.
So,
and if you guys are Warlock mains, man, definitely get comfy with the aspects. Because, dude, I love the steps. I use the steps a good amount. But Warlock, to me, like, I think they've always had some of the best neutral exotics. I really do. So I'm not going to, or I don't mind switching back to Ophidians, dude. That's going to be pretty good.
I wanted to quickly talk about what you think and how we think this is going to shape the shotgun metagame. Are precision shotguns going to rise up? Because I think from reading this, they are. I think precision shotguns have this insane range bar. Like I have a retold with nearly 100 range. We got like exotics like the duality, which acts like a precision from the hip, that it has a ton of range. We have previously we think to ourselves, it's meaningless. Everyone was kind of like, okay, you got range on this, but is it doing anything? But now I think because the damage fall off maximum is being pushed out, they're going to be able to take more advantage of this. And it means that you are going to be able to get better cleanups. And remember, they're not being hit by their consistency. They're both going to be more consistent than aggressives now, potentially. And they're going to have better range for cleanups with, like we said, melees, primaries, etc.
Yeah.
On top of it, I think that I was gonna say that I think that like things like duality are gonna shine a lot because of that, because it's a precision from the hip. Oh, I forgot to mention that precision archetype also do inherently have relatively faster 2-taps, so that is an option. Same with lightweight, so those actually become a little bit more viable. With aggressives, you're not going to go for that, but with precisions looking like the best of the both worlds now potentially, they could. I really think they're going to rise up. I think precisions are going to be the way to go.
All right, so moving on, 120s.
Yep, let's move on.
I think we all know. We believe that they're still a little too rangy. We all know how good these things are. They benefit way too much from a small damage buff for 2-tapping. It's tricky because they're not how much different they are from their pre-Beyond Light form. Because remember, they buffed them to 120 RPM. But with Rampage, you can 2-tap. They have a tremendous ease of use. The 2-tapping potential since the buff and Beyond Light and the new 120s and Seas of the Chosen encouraged a lot of people to try them out. With this change, we expect other primaries to become viable, where previously 120s ate their lunch, including adaptive hand cannons, pulses, scouts, and auto rifles, which is good for the game, while allowing 120s to keep their advantage of hard-hitting peak shotting at a range. So they reduced the precision damage multiplier from 1.8 to 1.6. This is going to reduce the 10% damage bonus from allowing 2-tapping in PvP. And we went through the math. That should do 80 to the head, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And I don't know about you, man. I love this change. I think the problem with this archetype was 100% the damage of the weapon type and not so much the range. I think the range does matter, don't get me wrong, but I really think it was the damage and the fact that it can be combined with Rampage for such immediate 2-taps available, and with so many things it would still 2-tap. That being said, it still does 2-tap. If you get charged with light, you're still 2-tapping.
Yeah,
because that's 20%. You're going about that. You were talking about multi-kill clip earlier.
Yeah, so they reduced the damage multiplier, so it should do 80 to the head, 50 to the body, right? Then that's kind of weird to me now that I kind of think about it out loud. 80 to the head, 50 to the body, because they're not touching the base body damage, so it'll still 2-head 1 body. But they
important to know though, it'll never 1-head 2 body anymore. Never. So resilience actually is less valuable now.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
Their main thing was preventing the 2-taps with Rampage. But if you have a bottom dollar with multi-kill clip...
Oh, apparently it's 17%. Okay, we're actually both wrong. It's in between. So it's 17%.
So what is that?
Math here. 80 times 1.7. Wait. 1.17. My mistake. So that's 93.6 damage. And that times 2. That's 187. So that, depending how rounding goes, could be maybe a 2-tap at 0 res.
So yeah,
I believe that's 0 res.
I think just all around, like that. All around, they destroyed the 2-taps on these things. The only thing is if you had an old Criminals with kill clip. That's the only thing. Or Sturm.
Yep. Or Sturm.
Or Sturm.
Good. Love to see that being more unique. Question though. I want to confirm this now as well. Is high energy fire, if anyone knows in chat, high energy fire, I always thought that was 20%. If anyone can confirm that, because if it is 20%,
it is
that means
20.
It's still
It is 20.
Okay, it is 20. Okay, so that means with high energy fire, it will still 2-tap. So what do you think of that? Do you think this is a good change then?
I do. Because you have to think.
I think it's good enough.
Because once we go through the rest of these changes, it all kind of coexists. So reduce the aim assist minimum fall off distance by 1 to 2 meters depending on the range stat. Reduce the damage minimum fall off by 1 meter. So they already like brought him back, what, 2 to 3 meters in this recent update for Splicer? Because they used to, like I said, they used to hit at 45, 47. Yeah. Now, like, the higher range rolls, like, max is, like, 41, 42. So, it's, dude, honestly, it's bringing them, like, if you have a well-rolled, like, Ace of Spades, immediately, when I think of range stat, if you have, like, a well-rolled palindrome, like, it's gonna be competing with the 120s, dude. For sure. But, like, so, they reduce that. So, this reduces their damage fall-off advantage over other hand cannons at 1 meter. As usual, this is 1 meter before the zoom scaler, so they do it by hip fire. They reduce the aim assist. So, I think a lot of them are going to live in 37 to 40 meters.
That's what I get from this, too. I think a lot of them are going to live within that, like, I was thinking, like, maybe 38 to 42, 37 to 42 meter range. And remember that it's still going to take you getting an incredibly well-rolled 140 to kind of invade on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the average 140 and an average 120, I want to say, or like a decent 120, they're going to kind of coexist right after the other, maybe some slight overlap between them in the mid 30, high 30 range. So I think that's good.
Well, and another huge thing, because they used to do 90, and then you add on the damage of Rampage, well over 100. The fall off that you had, because its base is just so high, you're starting at 80 now. So like the moment that you get, say you start having fall off at 37, the moment you get to 38, that's starting to hit, and like hand cannon fall off is ridiculous, dude. Like when you take 2 steps, it'll lose 7 damage, right? Like, so that 80 is gonna fall really quickly beyond where you can't 3-tap anymore.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, because like you said, like that before, the damage was higher, which means you had more leeway, more distance you can go with that damage dropping off, where you could still 3-tap, because you can 3-tap as long as you're hitting 66 damage, and that's just 3 headshots, right? So now that it's less damage, that window of how far you can go while your damage drops off and artificially extends your range is now shorter. I had a question on this. Sturm. We talked about Sturm briefly. Will Sturm still be able to, like, does that, it's still 1 head, 1 body, right?
Yeah, dude.
That doesn't alter that? Or does that become a 2 head? Right? I'm not sure what those numbers look like. I don't have that off the top of my head.
It does beefy. It does like 160 to the head, 170. So I would assume it's gonna be.
I'd assume, yeah.
Dude, I don't know. The more I think about it, that might push it to a 2 head. Like I
might get resilience gated, is what it sounds.
I think it might get resilience gated.
Yeah, high resilience though. So that's.
So overall, I mean, that's gonna be a huge change to the game. Like you should see now that range right there. Like a lot of people are talking about adaptives in 140s, but like what you should really be thinking about is pulse rifles, dude. Pulse rifles, your ag frame pulses, your desperados. That's gonna take the place. That's definitely gonna take the place of a 120, dude.
Yeah,
1000%. You're gonna see those. You're gonna see grid skipper, because like literally, it's placing it in those ranges, and this thing's gonna stomp them now because it doesn't have the leniency with the range and the damage.
Yep,
100%.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think aggressive pulse rifles, people are gonna start gravitating towards those as they're, a little bit more safer ranged options that still put out incredible damage output. But I'm also excited for a little bit of scout rifles able to shine a little bit more. You know how much I love Mida, so hopefully Mida will be able to fulfill its role just a little tiny bit better. Although I don't see those changing, the scout rifles changing from like
I do. Honestly, I can imagine. I do, because like
really,
if they're starting at 80 damage and start hitting fall off at 37 meters, think of Mida at back Mohawk on you know what map I'm talking about. But there's a lot of places where you could lane and nothing can touch you.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It'll be interesting to see how these weapons play out with some of the top players and knowing how to put pressure and close the gap, and if they'll hold up. And that's what I'm really excited to see with these changes, really. I'm not sure. I don't know. I really don't know how it's going to go. You make some really good points, too. Another thing to think of here is
Bannerfall.
Bannerfall. Yeah, we're so. Oh my god, I don't know how I didn't think of that. I knew the place you were talking about. I know where. I was gonna say, it was suggested to me here. No Time to Explain. I believe that weapon is already one of the most broken, insanely good. I say broken like exaggerating
in a good way, right?
Yeah, in a good way. Like it is so insanely strong, and all I see from this TWAB is No Time is about to really like be better than it's ever been.
I mean, Vigilance Wing, like there's a lot that could start becoming because of that range, dude. I don't know. Yep. I'm excited for it. I mean, I love Igneous Hammer. I love the feel and the look of those weapons, but it's to a point now that you're either using that or you're kind of behind, you know?
Yeah.
They said
I think that...
Go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to keep going down the list. I was going to keep going down the list.
That's what I was going to do. So, yeah, it works out.
Cool. Go ahead. You can read that one.
Oh, okay. Reduced aim assist minimum fall off distance by 1 to 2 meters, depending on the range stat. And wait, you want to talk about this first? let's talk about this before we move on. What do you think about this?
Most people, like, if you have an igneous hammer or a bottom dollar, you have a pretty high range stat, and those have really high base range stat anyway. Like, a lot of my hammers are over 90 range, so 1 to 2 meters, I would assume that 95 and above is getting the 2 meter nerf, and 90 below is like that 0.5 to 1 meter nerf that they're talking about. It isn't. I don't think it's going to be that big of. I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue with these. I just think, just like with most weapons, it's going to fall within a set range and start having the fall off. So,
yeah, I agree.
I'm not worried about that.
Change. I like the change because these weapons don't deserve, I think, to be as forgiving as they are at some of these extreme ranges, where it becomes like they're now somehow more forgiving because everything we know about the aim assist cone and how that works and zoom and all that kind of stuff.
They're massive on a hand cannon. Massive.
Exactly. It gets to the point where it's so crazy that it's somehow more forgiving than a pulse or a scout in their ranges. So I think this is just them kind of adjusting whatever curve the range stat scaler works on, right? So what we're probably going to see is at that higher end, like you said, that higher end of range, they're going to fall off sooner with aim assist. Whereas, like, if you have a mid range, or even if you're kind of rocking the iron gaze rule like I am on my steady hand, you're probably not going to see a difference.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, the iron gaze rule kind of sticks out a little bit more after that too.
Good point.
So,
yep.
Reduce.
Want to go with the next point?
Yeah, I got it. Reduce damage minimum fall off distance by 1 meter. It reduces their damage fall off advantage over other hand cannons to 1 meter. As usual, this is 1 meter before the zoom scaler. So under the hood, the aim assist is getting nuked 1 to 2 meters, but actual in-game fall-off distance is 1. Like I said, it's just gonna have a set range now, dude. I think it's gonna be about 35 to about 39 meters now, 30 to 35 to 40. High range palindrome gets to 36, dude. So that's a rangefinder palindrome.
Yep. How do you? So a question from chat, and I'm also interested in this. How do we see the 180s comparing and performing in this post-aggressive nerf world?
Honestly, I think it's gonna be about the same, because I think a lot of people are gonna go to 140s, and 140s do dominate those, dude. When a lot of people are using the 120s, you can get away with that 1 second TTK.
Yeah.
Because if a 120 misses just one shot, you got them easy, no problem with the 180. But if everyone's using 140s, that could be a little bit different.
Yeah, you gotta be on point. And that's what I've always said about that archetype. You're gonna use a 180, you want to use the easiest hand cannon, or the hand cannon with the highest ease of use and highest consistency. Well, comes at a cost. You gotta be perfect. If you're getting the power to be perfect, you gotta be perfect with them. And I think there's still higher likelihood, especially when you think of something that we got Epitaph now with high cals. I literally get tweets about people saying I can't aim back because of how ridiculous the high rate of fire plus that flinches. So that's bound to mess up 140s and probably knock them off their optimal time to kill. But you have no room to miss your optimal time to kill as well. I think that they are going to be better range contenders without 120s kind of stepping on them at range now. Because the way I've always seen stability and what I've loved about the 180s is that they don't get the damage fall off at range. Sure, like they don't maintain their damage great, but you can just continually keep shooting at someone. You don't have recoil to worry about. Your accuracy cone stays pretty tight, especially if you slap on double targeting. You're pretty much just going to keep, hitting, like, even if it's small damage headshots repeatedly, which still provides flinch, still puts down pressure, and adds up over a short period of time. So I think they'll have a little bit better of a time, but probably not too much drastic of a difference other than what CoolGuy said, which is if people are using 140s now, prepare to perform perfectly.
Yeah, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's a new scenario, essentially. Like, it could do well before, I think, because the 1 second TTK of a regular 120 and the range that they had. So, like, you can kind of nip around, but if players are playing a little bit closer and are doing max damage, let's say Ace of Spades is out there, Hawk Moon, Last Word, there's a lot of good hand cannons, dude. So
yep. Yes, there is.
Let me move on to quickly about perk changes.
Before we do that, we actually forgot to talk about, we barely talked about it, but slug shotguns. So slug shotguns now in comparison to normal shotguns. I think this is really interesting. I don't know what your immediate thoughts on this are, but it's like a little hard to think about almost how these will compare now.
Dude, for me, a slug shotgun has always been like, if I'm doing a melee build, because I mean you cannot kill them to the body, and they're doing what, 142, 138 something to the body. So they've always had, what is it, 10.5, 11 meters, 11.3. What's the exact one for a max range? Like no swashbuckler, no opening shot. It's like 11 meters.
Yeah, I think it's something like something mundane like that. Yeah, you're right. And it was continued. Yeah,
but like, you could throw a slug to the body, and like if syntheseps are coming back, if you know people are using top tree arc strider for the melee range, especially to get melee builds going, it could be really, really good. Sliding in, slug to the body, melee. If people aren't able to double up with a regular shotgun, like that becomes an even better tactic. If a shotgun melee is like one of the best ways to get shotgun kills now, the slug would outperform a regular shotgun if you're going that route. So, not to mention Roadborne.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get into the exotic options in a second, but I think this can go in a couple of different ways. On one hand, I see slug shotguns now having a bigger gap of lethality against normal shotguns because the one hit kill range is different now, which means slug shotguns really have the power to separate themselves from normal shotguns, which is almost concerning.
Dude, it's literally
they already can destroy them.
Double the range now.
Yeah, so it's a little crazy to think about. On the other hand of things, really good players, I feel like, again, are still gonna prime you with damage and potentially map you from even further now, right? Because of that increased damage fall off, lasting or going further out. That means, again, we just got Reezewalker. I talked about this. We got Reezewalker. We got like Retold. We have these archetypes that have these massive snap bars that are now going to matter more potentially. I think they're going to matter more, which means they're going to map you. Like maybe either one hit kill is not going to be great, but if you're primed, like hand cannon shot to the body or something, they're probably going to map you then further before potentially. So will good players still put an immense amount of pressure on slug shotgun users? And I think so, because of that. So it's an really interesting trade-off here, and I don't know how it's gonna really play out.
I think that we're about to see the Spectral Blade Chaperone again. I think that's gonna be one of the top 3 classes, dude. Top 3 meta picks. Like I see it coming. I kind of see it now.
Oh, yeah.
When those are down by 2 meters, like every shotgun is pulled in by 2 meters, and like they didn't specifically say that it was just the aggressive frames that are getting pulled in. They said reduce shotgun damage fallout by 2 meters. Like that's just a blanket statement.
That's everything.
So I mean, Roadborne's getting up to that 14 meter range, but it just in general, it's hitting over 10. You're gonna see Spectral Blades again.
Yep, shotguns are now my takeaway from this. All in all, cool guys, shotguns are cleanup weapons now. You need to complement them. You need something, whatever it might be. And what that means is the slug shotguns. And when we talk about, most importantly, like you just said, the exotic options, man, they are going to separate themselves like more than ever. They have more room to operate than ever. I'm a bit scared. And this is what I was scared about with the shotgun change without touching these crazy exotic options. We have Chaperone, like you just mentioned, which I already think was meta. And if it wasn't before, it is now. Duality, which gets the one hit of the slug, but still gets to fall back on its shotgun potential or normal shotgun potential. And it has equal or similar range to Chaperone without Roadborne, which is insane. And then we have Lord of Wolves, which I've been using recently. And like the thought of me having more safety to play in with Lord of Wolves is like tremendously scary to me.
Yeah.
Like I think these 3 weapons will dominate shotgun usage now. Sure, great players are always... I really think that the top of the top players are going to be the ones that make the instantaneous damage of a traditional shotgun still relevant with the way they're able to prime people and capitalize on damage. But I think for like middle of the pack and even at a high level play, those options are going to be more disgusting than ever.
Well, like you kind of extrapolate, like depending on the player, like I think a lot of players will switch to Chaperone, and like I see it in chat, and I thought it earlier, dude. Bastion is about to have a lot of high upkeep too.
Yep, Bastion. Oh man. Oh yeah. Yes, it is. And not to mention those options that were mentioned, they all have high handling.
Yeah,
Shotties don't have quick draw anymore. Like they're all like low hand. Like I mean, like the precision archetype which we together projected to be the best archetype does have that, sure. But I mean, you know, my point is these shotguns are lacking nothing.
Yeah.
Do you think this is enough of a trade-off? Because what I'm scared of with this, what I'm really nervous about with this is that we have better legendary options, I think, than ever. Sure, exotics are strong. Thorn strong. It's gonna be maybe good again. Hawkman, we mentioned like Ace, all of these, they're great. But are they that much better than their legendary counterparts as these exotic specials are gonna be than now their counterparts? And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about that we're gonna see the same hold forward, you know, craziness, but it's gonna be an exotic shotgun in people's hands now or a Bastion.
Dude, straight up, I mean, there's still a play for sidearms, dude. As crazy as that sounds, like there's a play for Devil's Ruin.
True. It's fair.
So, I mean, it's got the fusion in it. It also has a distance. It has 0 recoil because it has one of those adaptive triggers. Farewell, like there's a ton of good, like all the 3 burst Omelons. Like I like True Vanguard's probably really happy. I mean, I like sidearms too, but like if they have to get that much closer, I can't tell you how many times I've been, you know, them being about, I don't know, basically one burst away when I'm using a sidearm, but they get me because of the range of a shotgun. So I mean, maybe that nerfs could be enough for shotgun or for sidearms to shine a little bit.
But all in all, the exotics worry me, but I hope so. And to add to that, I am excited for the SMGs too.
So pulse monitor.
Yep, perks. You got it.
Fix an issue where the handling bonus was no longer applying. I'm really interested to see how pulse monitor is going to work. Like how good that handling bump is going to be. Drop mags no longer going to roll on new weapons. They're going to change them later. There's a change coming next season that requires adjusting this and some perks with similar functionality. More on that later. So we'll just see when that comes out. They fixed rewind rounds and made it to where there was an issue where it's not going to trigger if the last shot is missed or the player reloaded another weapon before firing the final shot. So apparently no matter what, it's going to start getting it back. Reservoir burst, they're fixing that. But you know, let's talk about DMT real quick. Obviously, they say that it's too dominant for M and K. They have a lot of feedback on it. They want to keep the fast firing and hip, but they do believe that's like the kind of power fantasy, the feel of the weapon. But so what they did is they removed the hip fire damage fall off scaler was 1.8 times to match the zoom. So basically, within a hip fire, it's a scout rifle with near infinite range on a PvP map. So they took that away, and from what I understand, it's just going to be whatever they put it at, because the 1.8 is usually used as the what's what I'm looking for is like, well, whatever the ADS is. I don't know what the like inherent base zoom is for hipfire. I don't know what it's gonna do.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they remove the damage is the same, but they remove the damage fall off scalar from hipfire. But we don't know the base like of what that is. Is it just 1.0? Is that what it? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Like, but we don't either way. We don't know what that base is to truly understand what these numbers are going to be. Right?
Right. I mean, yeah, we'll just have to see it in game. I would assume it's going to be 25 to 30 meters. That's just my gut.
I assume so too.
But remember, I mean, it also does have the perk as you start landing headshots, you start ramping up damage. The skull perk. The aim assist cone angle hip scalar reduced from 1.5 to 1.2, and that's actually a big change.
That's a massive change.
You know, because you have to think, you know, all that stuff being tied in. You know, accuracy is one like the biggest thing, especially now since they took away that 1.8 scalar. So they're making that smaller. making the accuracy smaller. It's making everything smaller, meaning that the shot just simply could miss. So, what do you think?
I'm really torn on these changes. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like these changes, for what they are and the state of the weapon on mouse and keyboard currently, are subtle. I think they're still subtle, and I think this weapon's still going to be very strong. And when we take into consideration the changes to things like the aggressives, yeah, these feel like a little bit more subtle changes. Don't get me wrong. For these categories specifically, they feel quite massive for the categories. But, you know, I was really thinking, like, bring the damage down of the hip fire damage down, you know. I don't know, like, I really thought that's what it was when we were initially reading it, but I was wrong. I was like, oh, the damage fall off scaler, and I was like, kind of scratching my head at that. The aim assist cone thing, I think that's a really big change, but it's, as a controller user, a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I mean,
because it was already very inconsistent. I love this weapon. It reminds me of the DMR from Halo. I've tried to make this work and use it numerous times. I pull my hair out with simply how inconsistent to me it feels. So,
like, so there's also a part of me that, like, is hoping, and this actually just makes sense in my head. So the aim assist cone angle, they reduce it from 1.5 to 1.2. That might actually help a controller player, like, in the sense that you have to aim so high with DMT with the controller. I don't know why. Yeah. So I think that might actually help, if that makes sense.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah, potentially, yeah.
I mean, or it could be the complete opposite of what I'm thinking. That you might have to actually aim a little bit higher. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure, man. These are changes that I'm reading. I'm like, I really think we're not gonna fully understand the magnitude of these until we actually try it, and until it gets in the hands of course, most importantly, mouse and keyboard players, and to see the difference maybe on controller. To be honest, I don't know if you're getting these vibes. For me, I feel like these changes are really, and I mean, hey, like they even say it, really trying their hardest to, like, be like, okay, this is enough for mouse and keyboard to make a difference, but not enough to break controller, or, you know, like, to make it any worse on controller. But I don't know if it's doing enough of either. Like, does that make sense? It's like, it's trying hard to do, like, to maintain both of these things, like bring down on MNK, make better on controller, but not doing maybe well enough on either. Well, like, it's kind of still hurting controller and kind of not doing enough on MNK potentially. I don't know.
Dude, like, they obviously have a hard time with it. I mean, up until recently, Last Word was, like, really hard to use with MNK. And, like, talking with some, you know, I use a little, like, I don't really know because I play mostly controller, but, you know, Cam was saying that it's a little bit better. All these little changes that they do with the hip fire on these things. So, it's obvious to me. I mean, they're having a lot of issue with hip fire weapons cross platform, right?
I mean, it's because you have more precision at the hip with mouse and keyboard, right? And we, on that podcast, we asked about Last Word. Last Word is a specifically tuned weapon, and I think we learned this. I believe this isn't. In contrast to that, I'm not sure if I'm correct or not on that, but at least if that wasn't confirmed, it gave me the vibes. Then if the Last Word is a specifically tuned weapon, I'd love for this to be as well.
Yeah,
because I don't know, like, this change just doesn't. I'm not sure it's going to be enough for MNK to really be different, and I'm not sure it's going to be enough to not hurt controller.
Like, so when I think of the, like I said in my head, like, when I think of the average distance for a mid-range gunfight, I think, oh, well, why am I blanking on maps? It's the one, we'll just get back to that. God, what is it called? You know, I have like 2,000 PvP hours, and of course I'm blanking on maps. But I do think it's going to be about 25 to 30 meters. And if that's the case, like, MNK is still going to dominate in that range, dude. So, I mean, we're just got to see what it does. Because it is coded as a scout rifle.
Yep.
So, it's probably going to be fairly large. or fairly long range, as I should say. I don't know. I don't know what to really make of that. It sounds like they're taking very special care of it, because it is such a cool weapon. Sleeper Sim, they fixed an issue where it was benefiting less than the other linear fusions from Season of the Splicer when they did the buff. So the total buff is now 16.5% compared to the 50% buff that the other linear fusions have. So it's going to nuke everything, dude. It's going to be really, really good. You there, Drew?
Yep. Yeah, I just, man, for me, it's like, I just don't know enough, man. This is your thing.
So I mean, it's gonna be up there, dude. Its damage is gonna be up there. I'm thinking like it could be like a legit option for like a lot of damage phases, dude. Like I would like to see like after this buff versus like Templar, dude. Templar double shotty with the Sleeper Sim should be pretty good. They talk about okay, near future, we have more changes than usual coming in Season 15. Some as follow-ups to the above things that we talked about. They were too large for the mid-season. So here's a preview of some of those changes. And of course, also expect a batch of weapons and perks for Season 15. That's always good. Fusion rifles. We've been waiting to tackle subfamily differentiation for a while. We're planning on a large rework to fusion rifles, changes to fusion rifle perks and mods, and custom tuning to most exotic fusion rifles. They say is Vex Mythic class of fusion rifle. Let's see. So I don't know, dude. That doesn't sound like that. That sounds like it's a complete rework. Like it's literally building them again. I would love to see projectile-based fusions again. I would love to see that.
I really would too, man.
You had to lead your target, and like when someone was running at a distance and like they basically ran into the beam, is one of the best feelings in D1, dude. I loved it.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They were changed to be hit scan because they were power weapons originally in D2. And that caused a lot of problems in the long run when they were swapped back to special weapons. So personally, I'm in the same boat as you. I would love to see these as hit scan again, because I think that added an element of depth to them and an element of what makes them, you know, a little harder to use, a little bit more of that trade-off and that skill to it, right? And that respect.
Custom tuning for exotic fusions, so like Merciless, right? But whatever they're doing with the rework, their main goal, they say it right there in the first sentence, they want to differentiate different subfamilies. Like the rapid fire frames have never been really good, right? Even like basically it's precision frame or above. So I would love to see that. I'd love to see more fusion variety. They could do different things. It's basically right now, like a lot of the ones under precision frame, it's the bolt times to kill. Like you can't expect someone with shotguns the way that they are to land 6 out of 7 bolts, dude. It's not happening consistently. Like why would you ever do that? And people are like, oh well, you know, the 900 charge time of Merciless, or let's say you have liquid coils and something that's 820 and above. Like, oh well, you have to deal with the charge time. Like, don't kid yourself. Like the charge time is a part of the weapon. Like you play to that. You play around corners, you pre-charge. It's not a big deal. What is a big deal is how much damage they're doing per bolt and how consistent that is with the fall off. Charge time doesn't matter. So, but when you need to land 6 or 7 of them past fall off, it's just not happening. So I'm really interested to see what they do.
And I'm very interested in this custom tuning. Everyone's got something to say about Bastion, right? There's Telesto, I guess, breaking the game in some way every so odd seasons. And then there's Vex Mythic class, which has been getting a lot of negative reception from myself included. So I am really interested to see what they do to some of these exotic fusions. Of course, there's Merciless as well, but I just mean like, you know, some of the hot topics. But yeah, we can move on.
Breach grenade launchers. With the shotgun changes, we expect special weapons or other special weapons to increase in usage, and believe that the grenade launchers have the potential to become more frustrating to play against as they become slightly more common. We're planning a small change that specifically touches priming and cleaning up targets. I don't know what they're meaning by that. Basically, direct
I hope it's a good thing.
Yeah, direct impact sounds like it's going to stay the same. It could be a one-hit kill. Oh my god.
It sounds like stats are saying the same. Velocity, travel speed of the projectile. Honestly, some of the things, unfortunately, that I have a problem with, it seems like they're staying the same. However, they're planning a change that, affects your ability to prime damage and clean up targets. What this sound the thing that instantly goes off in my head, the idea that I have for this would be that they're going to maybe make the damage. If we take a cue from shotguns really quickly, with that same theme of what they did to them, perhaps make the damage radius bigger, but it's gonna have a more focused damage radius for full damage that'll be smaller. So like it'll have more likelihood to deal damage and be a little bit more forgiving, but the damage of the grenade launcher or the full damage and the significant damage is going to be a lot tighter and smaller. That's what I'm hoping for. And that sounds like a possibility with the way they handle shotguns.
I agree. We'll just have to see. Scout rifles and hand cannons, they want them to be a little bit better in PvE. We found that minor enemies and higher level content take too many shots to kill. Absolutely. Like Hunjury and Vision of Confluence, like I love the feel of those weapons, dude, but you can't do anything with them. Like you really can't. Machine guns, same thing. Play testing and feedback. They found they're not doing their job, so they're planning a noticeable change in season 15. Special ammo economy in the Crucible. While the above changes to shotgun should help tone down the aggressive frames a little bit, we've got a couple of small changes planned that could reduce the amount of special ammo floating around to a degree, and have further changes in mind in case they are needed. So the big things, right? They could bring back the boxes. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't really like that, to be honest with you.
The thing is, they said it is a small change. To me, in my mind, that sounds like a big change for like players. So I'm doubtful on.
The big sentence there for me is reducing the amount of special ammo floating around to a degree. So it could be the timer, dude. Like that's immediately what I think of. It could have like a 5-6 second timer. Like once you kill the enemy, the brick drops. You have 5 seconds to get there instead of it hanging around for what is it, 30, 20 seconds?
Yeah, I think you're really on point with that. I think that's an incredibly good read, an idea out of the way they've worded this, as you said. Do I think that would solve enough? I don't think so. But I think you have a really good read there, and that seems like what it really might be.
So, like, it hurts snipers the most, but then again, that's that risk-reward, right? You're going to be at a distance. You got to go get your ammo. Or, you're going to have to get into range, kill someone with a primary, then get your ammo. The other thing that we thought about was touching scavenger mods. Maybe just max of 2, maybe just 1, right? Maybe starting off with, like, 4 shots every time you spawn, but only getting 1 per brick. Like, I could see that too. Starting off with more, but getting less. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure I love that. I don't love that. I honestly just want scavengers to not do anything. Will that happen? I'm not sure.
You just want set base, like just one per pickup?
I just want, 1 bullet. Yeah. Well, it depends on the stack of ammo they had. If they had a lot of ammo, you can get like a little bit more, right? But standard, like you kill someone, you're getting your 1 bullet. That's what I would love to see. Is that too big of a change? I don't know. Does that fit what they call a small change? I don't know. It's a potential change, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, someone in chat. Bring back shoot to loot. Straight up.
But what is interesting is they do even mention that they have further changes in mind in case they're needed. So it seems like they're trying to introduce, or what they're going to do is introduce small things to influence, see how it goes, and take steps before, take gradual steps to really, getting to a more healthy place for special ammo economy that makes it more meaningful, rather than just, hey, we're changing it, which we've seen in the past, and I think the community's scared of.
It sounds like literally everything, except for shotguns, right? And 120s, that was they're pretty firm on that. But everything else, it sounds like they're doing it very slowly. I think that there's steps, right? I think that there's a stepped out plan. It's like, yeah, this plays really well, or hey, that isn't enough, or that's too much. I think that they have like different phases of what can happen with a lot of these things. So it's good to know that they're preparing.
Yeah, I agree.
Like DMT could not be enough. I think that they have more planned for it. Same thing goes for the special ammo stuff. So I don't know.
It seems like they have a good roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
That's honestly what this sounds like. Even though it's a mid-season patch update, they're kind of giving you the reasoning and what we should expect moving forward, which is good.
Yeah, I think that's great. I really think that, you know, we as a community give the Bungie a lot of flack, like, hey, you're not being quick enough, you're not addressing these things, the game's suffering. And I mean, they're doing it, and it sounds like what's more convincing than ever is that no matter what you think of the changes, they have a plan and a roadmap. Hey, if this is successful, great. Hey, if this isn't successful, we have a time window that we're going to work with, whatever they said, sometime, whatever, 15 or mid 15. I don't know what that is, but it seems like they really are looking like, you know, they have, you know, they're projecting and allotting time for, like, you know, what they're planning here. They have a plan, which is great. I think that's the most important thing of the changes. And I think these changes overall, I like them. I like them. I'm really excited to see how they play. I think some of them might not be enough. Maybe some of them might be a little too much, but overall, on paper, they sound pretty cool.
When you put it all together, too, I mean, let's really think about it. The stasis changes were a part of this too, right? So like they're doing a lot, man. They are doing a lot.
Power to them, and I appreciate it.
It could have been a huge patch. Like when you start putting it all together, like this is what they've been working on, but they're doing it. They're basically just rolling it out in phases.
Yep, I agree.
Anarchy's getting nerfed. It does too much, too often, too powerful. Over 9,000. They're giving it a couple roles rather than being the jack of all trades. I mean, I think we would all agree that Anarchy has had its time in the sun, right? Spotlight. So, I mean, I'm okay with it getting knocked down. Exotic primaries. We want to give players more reasons to use exotic primary weapons in high-end PvE and have changes coming to help with this. And that could be all of them, dude. Malfeasance, No Time to Explain. All these ones, like, even Bad Juju. Bad Juju technically is, like, one of the best PvE weapons in the game. Of all that it does, it has old school rampage, it has super energy, but you don't see it because it can't do anything. Similar with, like, the scout rifles. So hopefully they give...
Yeah, go on.
Just hopefully they give each one of them just a little bit something to help them out.
Dude, I think you hit the nail on the head with Malfeasance, man. Every time I look at that gun, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. An exotic 180 RPM hand cannon, one of my favorite archetypes. It makes up for the shortcoming, giving it that guaranteed 5-shot kill. I'm like, so cool. Until you realize it does not have the thing that makes the 180 hand cannon special. The accuracy.
The accuracy.
You know, and it's like, dude, like this thing, it needs something, man. It really does. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that one for me. That's what I think of with this little excerpt here on the catalysts.
All right, and the more distant future, we'll keep a close eye on special weapons, and they're going to make adjustments once they see how they perform in the wild, particularly the fusion rifles and the grenade launchers, because they're doing the rework to the fusions. They're going to pay close attention to that, and the GLs, of course, with priming. I do think we're getting ready to see a lot of truth tellers and salvos, man. It really depends on the player, right? Yeah. One player is going to go the GL route, one player is going to go the Chaperone route, one player is going to go the Bastion route. Like, we just don't know what's going to be the overall meta. Just like
I'm telling you now, man, I'm not getting off of Lord of Wolves. Like that, I'm not in trials. I'm not using another shotgun. That seems that or Chaperone seems absurd to me. There's no question about it for me.
Now, two things. We have no idea. We have an idea of what may need more adjustments as these changes shake out, but we're gonna wait to discuss them as our plans solidify. So again, like, they're thinking ahead, right? Like, we have an idea that it might be a little bit too strong, so this is what we're gonna do then. But again, they're gonna see how it changes out or shakes out. They're gonna give a close feedback on the exotic weapons and which weapons are under and overperforming. We have some tweaks planned next week in season 15 and beyond, which should shake things up. Note that we specifically look at Catalyst as a way to buff underused exotics. And like they say, the perfect example is Trinity Ghoul. Trinity Ghoul went from a weapon that was kind of memey to something that can literally just clear out an area effortlessly, right? So completely change the weapon. And then they say in Deathbringer, so expect similar reasoning moving forward. That's something I'm excited for. It gives you a new way to play. It does something really cool most of the time. So, and also it makes an exotic feel exotic.
Yep. I really am looking forward to that too.
At the risk of being vague, we also have long-term plans to address the issues of exotic orb generation and kill trackers without making a catalyst for every exotic in the game. And again, yes, thank you. Like,
thank you.
Like, now my big thing is I didn't have catalyst for Cloud Strike. Before that, it was Ace of Spades, dude. When Ace of Spades got it's Firefly. Yeah, I have over 10,000 with it. 15? I don't know. I have a lot of PvP kills with it, but before that, you know, I wish they would have done something different. But who knows? Like, they say that they're buffing hand cannons in PvE, and they're buffing some underused ones. So that exotic for the Memento Mori Firefly is actually really good, and it could be a little bit better. So, I don't know. I'm excited. That gets me really excited. So there you have it. It's going to be a meaty mid-season update, and it sounds like it's going to be this week, right? That's what I got from it. It's going to go down
July 6th. Do I have my month right? I think that's what they talked about that date, and I kind of just inferred that's the date we're getting this in the maintenance thingy.
Okay, that's a, and usually they're pretty on point, because remember Dylan or DMG said back when he's like, you know, I've been playing around and playtesting with the 120s, and, you know, man, they're so fun and blah blah blah. So like whenever I see something like this, I always pay attention. So trying some of these changes out in our playtests have been really fun, and we're expecting a little bit of a shakeup to the meta, at least in terms of shotgun usage. So that kind of tells me that they might be obliterated, dude. Like, really, because I think it's going to be, like you said, the skilled player doing the far out prime and cleanup, or doing like a shotgun beatdown. Some shotguns will be shotguns will still be fairly lethal, but will require closer range for those sweet one-hit elims. Like when they say stuff like that, when Cosmo or Dylan, like, that's kind of a warning, right? Yeah. So, what do you think?
I think that shotguns may unironically now become truly skilled weapons. I think that we're gonna the skill floor of them is gonna go down. It's gonna be harder to pick these up and make something out of them, which is what I wanted, because I think their skill ceiling is incredibly high. I think that good players are still gonna make use of them, and I think they're not gonna be as silly anymore, because now it's not gonna be like you prime them to map them from stupidity ranges anymore. It's gonna be like, oh, you want your range? You gotta prime them, or you gotta be ready to clean up. And that's going to require proper investment, since we don't have quick draw on some archetypes anymore. It's proper investment into your build, maybe dexterity perks. It's going to require you to have, or maybe take up a precision, like Retold with quick draw. You know what I mean? Like this, I think they're actually going to be like a lot bigger skill weapons now. I'm a little put off by the consistency change. I almost wanted them to have more consistency but less range. I don't know, but anyways, I think that this is a change that'll be a bit for the better in terms of what it takes to get the most out of a shotgun. What I am concerned about is how easy other weapons will be. So we'll have to see, and how that's going to scale at a top level. Yeah, you know, Trials brings out the most degenerate things in the game and truly shows how the game scales. If there's anything right now, it's not scaling well. I'm hoping this changes it and it scales well, but we'll have to wait and see.
A couple quick things. Withering Blade with Whisper of Durance with slow. That's now going to be applied. That little extra duration. Stormcaller can now blink while being slowed with stasis. It couldn't before. Diamond Lance could be kind of come out of thin air once you hit it with a Telesto projectile. They fixed that. Some abilities were not costing the Sentinel Shield energy while you're guarding. So the Nighthawk, Withering Blade, Shiver Strike, Glacial Quake, and Silence and Squall. So a lot of the stasis stuff weren't taking Sentinel Shield energy. But so the update 3.2.1 timeline on Tuesday, July 6th. So that's it. We are going to see it this week. And then on Wednesday, we have the Firing Range podcast.
Yep.
Solstice.
We kind of went over a lot of opinions today, but obviously, if you want to hear us talk about those with Fallout, Cam, and Merc, and perhaps even a bigger breakdown beyond just me and CoolGuy, definitely tune in.
So, I mean, collectively, Tuesday's a pretty big day because we have sweeping changes for the Sandbox. Solstice begins on Tuesday, and the time loss weapons from Vault of Glass begins on Tuesday. It's like it's a big patch, a lot of stuff to do. And like collectively, as far as the sandbox changes, I mean, you can kind of agree or disagree here. Like, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen to the Crucible, but this particular patch is what the Crucible needs right now, right? That's how I think about it. The pain points,
yeah,
the DMT, the shotgun, the 120s, that needs to be handled right now. We can kind of build off that. I'm really glad they pushed this up because I don't even know when the next season starts, but I mean, we probably need 1 or 2 more, or have 1 or 2 more months of the current meta. So I'm really glad they fixed this.
Yep, I agree.